Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahawashi, Bahasham, Barakahak Wadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashi. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and teach well. In peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and I'm going to start it off in Isaiah chapter 14, verse 4. Thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, and say, How hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. And this Babylon is Babylon the Great, that virgin daughter, the United States of America. And the king of Babylon is ultimately, these elites that run the country, like the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers. But, who's the face of America, the figurehead, the CEO, so to speak, the president, which, is DJ Donald Trump. And as it said, thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, How hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. And there will be no Make America Great Again, which MAGA goes back to a top-level warlock or magician. America is destined in biblical prophecy to be destroyed, specifically by nuclear missiles, which are going to turn it into the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea, and then a desolate, uninhabitable wasteland afterwards, and nothing will happen to keep biblical prophecy from coming to its fulfillment. And I opened up the video with this verse to preface the first article I'll be going into on abcnews.com titled, Trump Unveils Plans for $175 billion Golden Dome Missile Defense Shield. And what did it say? How hath the golden city ceased? And Donald Trump has an affinity for gold. So I find it highly spiritual that he would name this proposed missile defense system the Golden Dome. But remember, the golden city ceases and the oppressor ceases. America will be destroyed. And with the way things are looking and the way he's moving, Donald Trump could very well be that cruel lord to rule over spiritual Egypt, another name for America in Isaiah chapter 19. And of course, this king over Babylon, truly the last president. But it reads, President Donald Trump on Tuesday unveiled plans to begin building a sophisticated new missile defense shield that could intercept threats from space, estimating the endeavor would cost some $175 billion and become operational in 3 years. The project, Golden Dome, which will be led by Space Force General Michael Goitlin, echoes President Ronald Reagan's failed Star Wars program, which was criticized for being overly ambitious and siphoning money away from other national priorities. The White House cited advancements in technology as a reason why some of Reagan's vision was now possible. This design for the Golden Dome will integrate with our existing defense capabilities and should be fully operational before the end of my term, Trump said in announcing the plan. So we'll have it done in about 3 years. Once fully constructed, the Golden Dome will be capable of intercepting missiles, even if they are launched from other sides of the world, and even if they are launched from space. So that's it with this article. But hey, it's not in the cards for America to be able to escape its judgment. This is Jeremiah chapter 51. I'm going to start at verse 1 and jump around a bit. And the header reads, Babylon judged for sins against Israel. And that's ultimately why great judgment is coming to Babylon the Great, America, because this is the number one country that afflicted the true children of Israel, who are known as the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans today. Thus saith Yahweh, Behold, I will raise up against Babylon, and against them that dwell in the midst of them, that rise up against me a destroying wind, those nuclear missiles. And I will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her, and shall empty her land for the day of trouble. For in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. Speaking of all these different nations, that are going to shoot their nuclear missiles onto America, not just her enemies like Russia or China, but even America's own allies who are going to turn against her. And those fanners are the angels that are, going to intensify that heat. Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai is going to be controlling the missiles that are going to hit Babylon. And then also, besides those missiles, the chariots, the heavenly vehicles of Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, are going to be shooting concentrated heat, or so-called laser beams, onto America as well. Against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifteth himself up in his brigandine, and spare ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her host. And in the scriptures, bows and arrows can be symbolic for the nuclear missiles, as well as the silos and launch platforms that are going to be firing them. And you got to remember that when the prophets saw these visions thousands of years ago, they weren't going to say a ICBM or a Satan II or anything like that. They had to describe it with the weapons that existed during their times: bows and arrows, spears, javelins, you name it. But now I'm going to jump down to verse 7. Babylon hath been, and listen closely, a golden cup in Yahweh's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, and that's talking about these philosophies that America has made these nations spiritually drunk off of, with capitalism, feminism, democracy, the alphabet group. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad, spiritually being mad, following after these different ways which destroy societies. And what? Hey, also being literally mad at America because they're seeing that by following after this whore Babylon, hey, their nations are in decline. So they're going to take up arms again against her and bend those bows to fire them upon her. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her? Take balm for her pain, if so be she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go everyone into his own country. For her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. So as it says, Babylon shall not be healed. So there will not be a American Renaissance, MAGA, or the Golden Dome system defending America when these nations go to shoot their missiles onto her. The Golden City will cease. And the main nation that's going to be leading these nuclear missile strikes on America is going to be Russia. Which brings me to my next article on thesun.com. Vlad's plan. Vladimir Putin expands nuclear missile base after test at frozen site killed 5 in horror radiation leak disaster. Satellite imagery reveals that before and after view of the Russian military testing site. Vladimir Putin has expanded one of his nuclear weapons bases at a frozen site in Russia. I'm just going to hit the main points. And, over these last, couple of years, especially with their war in Ukraine, it seems like every other week, Russia is making nuclear threats towards the West. The entire compound, located some 40 miles west of Arkhangelsk in northern Russia, is thought to be more than 61,000 square meters wide and is heavily fortified. Construction at the Russian military site is thought to have begun in 2023, according to the Barents Observer, which has been tracking all its activities. Several big containers reportedly used to store missiles can be seen in the pictures. A dedicated launch pad with 2 missile containers can be seen in the center. Both launchers are directed towards the White Sea, the latest Google Earth images show. Similar blue launcher containers can also be seen in other test facilities for missiles in Russia. This includes the Kapunskin Yar in the Astrakhan region, and in recent years, Pankovo at Novaya Zemlya in the Arctic, which, I've done plenty of videos previously showing that Russia has been building back up their military capabilities, nuclear capable in that Arctic Ocean region. Rosatom has used the latter for testing the Burevestnik nuclear-powered cruise missile under development. So hey, Russia is steadily building up their nuclear arsenal, ultimately to be that main archer bending the bow against Babylon. But now I'm going to go to my second article from the Express.com. Putin hitman threatens to blow U.S. to hell with radioactive tsunami as World War III fears explode. Vladimir Solovyev, one of the main Kremlin propagandists who has been whipping up war hysteria in Russia, has threatened the U.S. with a radioactive tsunami. A prominent Vladimir Putin propagandist has unleashed a scathing tirade against the United States on Russian television, warning of a nuclear tsunami that would obliterate the country in response to potential U.S. sanctions aimed at crippling the Russian economy. As the Ukraine conflict rages on, Putin has repeatedly employed nuclear saber-rattling to deter Western nations from providing military aid to Ukraine. Recent weeks have seen an escalation of Kremlin threats to unleash a nuclear Armageddon upon Western countries. The latest target of Putin's nuclear ire is the United States, as the U.S. Senate considers a new sanctions package designed to strangle the Russian economy. Kremlin mouthpiece Vladimir Solovyev leveled a scathing diatribe against America during one of his TV programs. The U.S. imposes sanctions against Russia. Secondary sanctions. Solovyev fumed. He continued, "Just wondering, doesn't it say anywhere we order Poseidon not to raise counter-radioactive tsunamis that will blow the entire continental United States of America to hell, leaving only no..." Solovyev's inflammatory remarks demonstrate the Kremlin's continued reliance on nuclear intimidation and underscores the increasingly volatile global landscape as tensions escalate between Russia and the West. In 2023, Russia rolled out the first batch of its nuclear-powered and nuclear-armed torpedoes, dubbed Poseidon, capable of traveling vast distances. Strategic experts are raising alarms that the Poseidon torpedo could obliterate a coastal metropolis, unleashing radioactive inundation and leading to millions of casualties. Salakia, there's one more paragraph I'm looking for. That's pretty much it. You get the point. But hey, Russia, like I've been saying, that main nation that's going to lead these other nations against, Babylon, hey, is getting prepared to eventually shoot those nuclear missiles onto her. And as we read, Babylon, or America, that has been the golden cup in Yahweh's hand, the golden city will cease. And they won't be able to do anything to stop it. Which brings me to Psalms chapter 58, I'm going to start at verse 3 and jump around. But the header reads, prayer for the punishment of the wicked and the biblical wicked, the border of wickedness in Malachi 1 verse 4, and the wicked whom the earth has been given into the hands of in Job 9 verse 24, are the Edomites, the so-called white people, especially these American Edomites. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. And hey, those lies, equality, democracy, women's rights, that wine, has been used by Babylon to make these nations drunk and mad from it, hence why they're ultimately going to turn against her. But now I'm going to jump down to verse 6. Break their teeth, O power, in their mouth. Break out the great teeth of the young lions, O Yahweh. And a lion's teeth are their main weapons. So this is talking about what? America's main defense. Those nuclear missiles and those anti-missile defense systems, which the Golden Dome is slated to be a part of. And as it says, they are going to be broken. Let them melt away as waters which run continually. When he bendeth his bow to shoot his arrows, let them be as cut in pieces. When it comes time for these nuclear missiles to be fired, America's going to get off some missiles, but the spirit of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai is going to be on a lot of those missiles to fail, and a lot of those anti-missile interceptors to fail as well, to allow this whore to be wide open for nuclear penetration. And at the same time, the spirit of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai is going to be on these other nations' missiles to be perfectly guided to their targets. Bullseye. But this is Joel chapter 2. I'm going to read verses 1 to 8. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of Yahweh cometh, for it is nigh at hand, and that trumpet is being blown by the prophets, the men of the Lord, chiefly of GMS or Great Millstone, out on the highways and byways preaching this word, as well as putting up video epistles like this. A day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong. Speaking of those nuclear missiles, there hath not been ever the like, because they came about very recently, beginning with those 2 atomic bombs dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima during World War II. Neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations, because when these nations go to shoot their missiles, every single one is going to be fired, and when the dust settles, Yahweh, the Son of the Most High, whom the world ignorantly refers to as so-called Jesus, along with the 144,000 of the elect of the nation of Israel, who are fishers of men prophesying, are going to be hunters in that day with spiritual powers and spiritual bodies. Hey, Abaratazam of that number, we're going to round up the remaining of you heathens, beginning with your elites, so we can slap cold chains of iron on you, so you can begin building up the kingdom of heaven for that first 1,000 years. And we're never going to allow you to build weapons of war anymore. Verse 3, a fire devoureth before them, that warhead at the front of the missile, and behind them a flame burneth, that rocket booster at the back. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them, life as you know it, cities, parks, people, and behind them a desolate wilderness, a wasteland like Mad Max or Fallout. Yeah, and nothing shall escape them. The appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen so shall they run. Like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains shall they leap, like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array. Before their face the people shall be much pained. All faces shall gather blackness, or ash, soot. People getting burnt up to a crisp. But here's the main point I wanted to get to. They shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war. And they shall march everyone on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. The spirit of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai guiding those missiles to their targets. And there have been plenty of accounts all throughout the Cold War through the last several decades where U.S. and Russian military sites have reported so-called UFOs appearing above them, turning on the launch sequences, and then before they hit zero, turning them off and disappearing, showing that Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai is in complete control of everything. And hey, those fanners back in Jeremiah 51, hey, when it comes time to shoot those missiles, they're going to be controlling them. And when it comes time for those anti-missile defense systems like the Golden Dome to work, they're going to utterly fail. Neither shall one thrust another. They shall walk everyone in his path. And when they shall fall upon the sword, those anti-missile defense systems, they shall not be wounded. Break the teeth of the great lions, O Yahweh. When he go to bendeth his bow to shoot his arrows, let him be as cut in pieces. But now I'm going to close it out in Jeremiah chapter 50. I'll start at verse 9 and jump down. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, that north country being Russia. And like I said earlier, Russia has been building up its military assets, nuclear capable, in that Arctic Ocean region. And, you can look it up. It's a well-known fact that Russia shooting missiles from the north across the Arctic, or from the Arctic to reach the U.S. would be the shortest trajectory time for those missiles to reach Babylon. And that assembly of great nations are not just Russia's allies like, China or North Korea, but also America's own allies, these NATO nations, which are going to turn against her and ally themselves with Russia. Revelation chapter 17, verse 16, the 10 horns, speaking of the EU upon the beast, NATO, these shall hate the whore, Babylon, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire, nuclear fire. And they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows, missiles, shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. But now I'm going to jump down to verse 41. Behold, a people shall come from the north, and a great nation, and many kings shall be raised up from the coasts of the earth, from the ends of the earth. Remember what it said back in Jeremiah 51. Those that are round about her shall bend the bow. They shall hold the bow and the lance. They are cruel and will not shew mercy. Their voice shall roar like the sea, and they shall ride upon horses, everyone put in array like a man to the battle against thee, O daughter, that virgin daughter of Babylon. And when you go to Psalms 137, verses 7 to verse 9, you will see that these Edomites are synonymous with the daughter of Babylon. Verse 40, as the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighbor cities thereof, saith Yahweh, and America is also known as spiritual Sodom in Revelation 11, verse 8, which is very easy to see. This is the number one nation that pushes that alphabet lifestyle onto the earth through its socio-economic policies, its geopolitics, Hollywood, and its social media. And just as ancient Sodom and Gomorrah was overthrown with fire and brimstone from the sky, this modern day spiritual Sodom and Gomorrah is going to be overthrown by that modern fire and brimstone, those nuclear missiles. Saith Yahweh, so shall no man abide there, neither shall any son of man dwell therein. It's going to become the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea, and then that desolate, uninhabitable wasteland afterwards, where after the dust settles, man, woman, or child will never set foot on this place ever again. And after a time, only harsh desert creatures will be able to dwell here. Verse 39, therefore the wild beasts of the desert with the wild beasts of the islands shall dwell there, and the owls shall dwell therein, and it shall be no more inhabited forever, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. And the former United States of America, that golden city, will be remembered as a eternal memorial as to what a wicked kingdom looked like and how not to live, and what the judgment and punishment was for afflicting the apple of the Most High's eye, the children of Israel. So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We are almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.